Millions believed Elvis did it. But did Michael Jackson really do it? Fake his death. Alive. Is Michael Jackson really dead? Investigative journalist Pearl Jr. uncovered the facts in the 2005 trial. Now she's uncovered the most shocking true story of our lifetime. Alive. Is Michael Jackson really dead? This promises to blow your mind. Elbow Grease Productions, in association with MichaelJacksonInsider.com, presents Hi, this is Pearl Jr. with MichaelJacksonInsider.com, and we have just wrapped up the first week of the People versus Dr. Conrad Murray voluntary manslaughter trial of Michael Jackson. We'll get into the Joe and Joseph situation later, but I thought it was important that I have a heart-to-heart with you fans out there, whether you're a believer or a non-believer, because we are coming to a crossroad here. Is Michael Jackson really dead, or did Michael Jackson fake his death? And as Sharon Sidney had said, was Michael Jackson kidnapped? These are questions that we all want answers, and everybody thinks that they have an answer, but this is an ongoing saga. About 8 months after the announcement that Michael Joe Jackson died, I decided to get involved in the believers in the death hoax because I had heard so many things that made it seem like the death of Michael Jackson was faked. Now, up until that point, I had believed that Michael Jackson had really died. Well, anyway, I want to talk to you guys because no matter what, as I've said many, many times before, we all love Michael Jackson, and Michael Jackson fans are one. And that's the most important thing. Now, in this involuntary manslaughter trial of Michael Jackson, we are learning the events of 2 days, the 24th and the 25th of June in 2009. The death hoax really dates back to at least December 25th, 2008, and goes all the way up to current. So we have a big story and we have a little story. Which one do we believe? Right now, we are observers in the courtroom, watching and learning the evidence and listening to witnesses. So far, there have been 12 witnesses on the stand. Who I found the most unbelievable out of all the witnesses was Alberto Alvarez, because his testimony has been refuted by 2 emergency medical technicians, the paramedics that came on the scene that have already testified. We have the discrepancy of Alberto Alvarez saying that he put Michael Jackson from the bed to the floor while he was on the phone, holding the phone with his shoulder, and him and Dr. Murray moved him to the floor. Now, in that 911 call, I don't hear any grunts of lifting weight. I don't hear any rustling. I don't hear any type of jostling around, even bending over. I don't hear anything that shows that sounds like the motion that he did that, and that can be supported by one EMT. Sinoff said that when he walked in, they were moving Michael Jackson from the bed to the floor, and we know that Alberto Alvarez hung up the 911 call before paramedics even got there. And also we have Blunt, another EMT who came in about 5 seconds after Sinoff, who said Michael Jackson was resting on the bed with his head on the pillow. So that's kind of a big, huge discrepancy, because you're only going there for one reason, which is to see that body. So that's the most important thing, the location of where the body was. The bed and the floor are 2 big differences. Also, Alberto Alvarez said Dr. Murray pulled out the IV out of Michael Jackson's leg. Both EMT officers said there was still an IV in the leg. Alberto Alvarez said that Dr. Murray had him picking up medicines and putting them in bags. He even demonstrated how he took the bag off of the IV pole and placed it in a bag, and then it went into another bag. But both EMT officers said they saw the IV pole with the bag already hooked on, and I just remember the prosecutor, Brazil, being shocked. And I'm like, didn't you know the testimony before you called them to the stand? The EMT talked about medicines being around the room, some medication on the nightstand, 3 bottles of lidocaine, which is the anti-burn that was a supplement for the propofol, was on the floor. So there's all kinds of stories that are surrounding it. And for the first time, we hear that Paris came in the room. All this time, we thought it was only Prince that happened to see his father. Now, the way that I'm handling this case and being a reporter that sits in the courtroom who is credentialed is at home, I'm watching the media coverage in the morning, and in the afternoon, I'm going to the trial and I'm watching it live. And the reason why I decided to split up the day is because on June 25th, I was at UCLA the whole day and I missed all that media coverage. So there was a lot of stuff that I'm still picking up that the media was talking about that day, June 25th. So now I'm trying to be as thorough as possible. Our real job here at Elbow Grease Productions will start at the end of the trial when we find out the fate of Dr. Conrad Murray, when I write Pseudocide 2, in which I've been keeping notes, and I will, let you guys know my opinions of what happened. In the Elvis trial, when Elvis Presley died and his doctor was charged with overprescribing, that ended in a hung jury. Please, God, don't let this one end in a hung jury. And then he was retried again, and that doctor was acquitted. So we have to see what happens. Dr. Murray, of course, looks like a very incompetent doctor. He looked just like he's not even a doctor. It's just so ridiculous. Now, the day before, on June 24th, I went to Carrollwood to check on Michael because I had heard that he wasn't feeling well or he wasn't showing up to rehearsals. And I was told on the 24th, a doctor was spending the night, and I thought that was absolutely odd. And I said, well, how long? And they told me 10 days. The fan told me 10 days. And these fans were what you call followers because they pretty much lived outside of Michael Jackson's gate and they knew everything and they would follow him wherever he went. In the opening statements, there was some really crazy stuff that happened. We saw what you may call the death photo of Michael Jackson, which is all weird. It's just a crazy photo. I mean, when you die, you're laying flat, and when they operate on you, you're laying flat, but somebody decided to go and lift the bed and take the picture. Also, the legs look really short, and it's just an odd picture. And then the way the picture was presented was very insensitive. And this was by the prosecution. I heard that Katherine Jackson never went inside the hospital room and didn't see Michael's dead body. And also, Joe didn't even show up at UCLA to see Michael's dead body. So I thought it was very odd for the prosecution to use that picture as a backdrop where they wrote over it and typed things over it. It just seemed extremely insensitive. But the judge did say that anything in opening statements should not be considered evidence. So they're going to have to prove to us that that's the picture of Michael Joe Jackson, or is it really important? Naren Sidney, who thinks Michael Jackson was kidnapped, she asked for a DNA test. And I agree that we need a DNA test to make sure this is the body of Michael Jackson. And the reason why I want to say that is because the surveillance tapes are missing from the 25th. The police have erased the surveillance tapes. Can you imagine? So they only have Michael Jackson going into the house around 12:30, 1 a.m. in the morning, and then it's nothing else. So it's easy that somebody come in, switch out the body, and everybody thinks it's Michael, and Michael goes somewhere else, and then we get all these clues that Michael's not dead, and the story lives on. What I want to say from the bottom of my heart is I wrestled with being a part of the Michael Jackson death hoax, because I am not a conspiracy theorist. I am not someone who believes in death hoaxes. I am not someone who's just half-cocked and go out of and say crazy things. I am someone who considers myself solid on the ground, study, college-educated, corporate woman who wants to know the facts. But the death hoax was such a great story with so many things that made so much sense, I decided to participate in it. The truth is what we are after. And if the truth leads us to believe that Michael Jackson is really dead, we believers have to let it go. But me thinking I know Michael Jackson as I do, he would love a death hoax even if he's dead, because Elvis had one. So how come Michael can't have a death hoax? He's a bigger superstar than Elvis. Anyway, I would like to end this with telling you from my heart, we are right now just going to listen to the evidence. We are going to point out things that are weird that happens in the courtroom, like the toy elephant in the room. What does that symbolize? And what that symbolizes to me is everybody thinks that this is the death of the superstar Michael Jackson. But Michael Jackson's middle name is Joe, not Joseph. And it has been very clear, this is the death of Michael Joseph Jackson. Now, when they mentioned that in court, in opening statements, and also Michael Amir, Michael Jackson's assistant, also called him Michael Joseph Jackson, I was thinking to myself, there's Catherine sitting there, there's Joe, there's Jermaine, and there's LaToya and other family members who have all confirmed that Michael Jackson's middle name is Joe. Why didn't any of them stand up and go, his middle name is Joe, his name is Michael Joe Jackson, he's a human being, let's get his name right? But no one has said anything. So I don't know what to believe about the body. Now, July 25th, 2011 was the announcement of the Michael Forever tribute. That's going to be held October 8th in Cardiff, Wales in the United Kingdom. And a whole host of people are performing, some of the world's biggest superstars, supported by Catherine Jackson. The Jacksons are going to perform, 3T is going to perform, and Beyonce and Jennifer Hudson and Black Eyed Peas and all kinds of famous people are going to be performing. Now, we found out the clues with that. Cardiff is also a place in the 1860s of the biggest hoax in U.S. history. And what that hoax is, it was this body that was fake, that people believed was real. And even 4 doctors had said that this body was a real body, but it was all a game, it was all a hoax. And even it was so famous that the greatest hoaxer of all, P.T. Barnum, he even copied the hoax. So is that a clue to tell us that this body really isn't the body of Michael Joe Jackson? And I'm going to leave you with this. Kenny Ortega, who was the director of This Is It, he said Michael told him the day before the dreadful day on June 24th, 2009, that the illusion starts tomorrow. This is Pearl Jr. for MichaelJacksonInsider.com. Suicide. Did Michael Jackson fake his death to save his life?